We join landscaping company Taming Mother Nature as they transform a somewhat cramped patio into an area which is altogether more spacious and welcoming. But the first job is to dig out the old area, and that involves several grab lorries of muck away and a lot of hard work. There was no lorry access to this site, so everything had to be taken out by this little track dumper, which turned out to be worth its weight in Mars bars. There was some drains that needed to be rerouted, so Austin cut through the existing manhole with a diamond core bit, except because he got it stuck, and that allowed him to put the new drain run into the side of the manhole. Now this house has a separate foul and surface water drainage system, which was dead handy because that meant they didn't have to dig a soakaway to take all that surface water. Now here, two men with spades find out what it was like before mechanical diggers came along and made everybody fat and lazy. Well, not these two guys, obviously. Now this is the formwork for the new concrete foundations, and this makes sure that everything is level, everything is straight and just where it needs to be. Now this is a nice low level solution to keeping that drainage below the patio. Now this formwork is for some very wide steps. You might think maybe a little bit too wide, but actually the concrete blocks are going to sit on the edges of the steps, so the steps are also forming the foundation for the retaining walls. Now this turned out to be the only wet day on the whole job. Now the concrete was supposed to turn up at midday, but they actually came early, which is almost unheard of. So by the time I turned up with the camera, they were just packing away. I like it that you use your best level for a...
Well, I shouldn't, but...
well, too late.
Where's the aim one to hand?
The thing is, mate, the best level you got is the one you got at hand. That's
yeah,
it.
It really is.
You've got to like a laser level for keeping everything spot on. Now laying these concrete blocks requires a very stiff mortar because the surface area on the mortar bed is not that great, obviously. So if you make a sloppy mix, you'll find that the blocks are sinking and swimming around. Now, for all those who think that the cement has been left out of this mortar, I can assure you that it hasn't. It was gauged perfectly. The thing is, the local sand around here is a lovely golden colour. So I noticed you put all this in with a laser level, but you reckon there still might be a high spot here somewhere?
Because we're on very soft sand, shuttering always tends to move up and down, especially where we've had a concrete pump. Where we're throwing the pump down onto that shuttering, it can move up and down slightly. I think it's about 5mm tolerance or something like that we've got. But we've basically taken the highest point and then we'll use that height to start the first block on, rather than using the lowest point, which means we're then going to start cutting blocks down.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, do you? A lot of dust, a lot of mess.
We'll bump out side, just put a side big bed on the first course, and then the rest of it should run in quite nicely with 10mm beds. So it's looking pretty good.
And here is the cut. The 1000 gauge polythene is draped around the back of the blockwork to stop it being soaked through by the groundwater. Now a lot of people wouldn't bother doing this, but it really helps keep the render looking good for a lot longer if there isn't groundwater soaking through from the back of the blockwork. Bringing the corners up in this way and checking the course heights as you go means that you can just run the infill blocks in with a string line, and it turns out to be a lot quicker doing it that way than laying course by course. This is a fairly traditional way of laying brick and block work. Austin is drilling down into the concrete so that he can insert reinforcing bars. Now these will be added to with overlapping bars when the wall is built to the full height. And then the hollow blocks are filled with concrete to produce what is actually a very strong retaining wall. So this is it. This is the hallmark of a good outfit. Look at this mixer. I mean, I could put a cake mix in it. It'd be ready to go, wouldn't it?
Originally, we was going to try to throw in 3 steps, but the way it worked out, it didn't really work out. So we've gone for 4. But obviously, these are just access steps. But them ones, they're feature step in it. So you've got a big, nice tread. Obviously, this is all going to get rendered anyway, but it's not the prettiest layout. But to get from up there, because you don't encroach too much in the patio, the bigger the steps and the more encroachment you get into the patio. So you've got to try to keep it as small as possible, but without looking silly.
So what goes on behind that wall there, where you blackjack?
So this is going to be a shingle trap. So this is all getting built up. We're putting all hardcore in here, and then this is all getting paved. And there'll just be a little shingle trap running down the side there, just for a bit of drainage. So we're going to punch the moles through there, and then I'll pave this.
Lovely job.
And then we're rocking and rolling.
That's good. That's a nice day's work, isn't it, for you? It's
nice day's work, yeah, not too bad.
Now, as so often happens on these jobs, I had to go away for a couple of days, and by the time I got back, a large area of the slabs had actually been laid. These guys weren't hanging around. They laid the slabs on a full bed of screeding sand and cement, and they buttered the backs of the slabs with a slurry of SBR and cement in order to aid the adhesion. So that's it, that's the patio finished, all bar the grouting, and as the client has a family barbecue scheduled for the very next day, this was cutting it fine, to say the least. And that was the reason that the plasterers were working at the same time that the slabs were being laid. Because in an ideal world, of course you wouldn't do that, that wouldn't happen. But if you know an ideal world, send us the address and we'll all go there. I'm Roger Bisbee, put your comments below as you always do.